Now, everybody in this room is quite educated on some of your works. I usually put up a video of some kind, just to further educate the people, but you have so many topics. It's a wide range of things that you do in an effort to enlighten us all. I couldn't pick anything, so I'm just gonna, give you the floor, ask you a couple questions, and hopefully continue that string of enlightenment that you've done, brother.
Certainly. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for extending the invitation to me. I want to send peace and blessings out to the entire Miami African family. Points beyond, as you said, Dr. Umar Johnson, doctor of clinical psychology, school psychologist, educated political scientist, Pan-Africanist, former Minister of Education of Marcus Garvey's UNIA, blood relative of Frederick Douglass, founder of Team Pan-African, author of the book Psychoacademic Holocaust, Special Education and ADHD War Against Black Boys.
I'll give you a disclaimer since we didn't get a chance to talk before you got on air. I'm playing the role of someone who has never met you before. Okay. And again, I'm aware of your teachings, but at the same time, a lot of people don't really understand the role of an orator throughout time. You look at the Frederick Douglasses of the world, or Malcolm X, or Martin Luther King, the roles that you play, even Al Sharpton to an extent, it's what will be used to enlighten us all, moving forward. So with that said, why get into psychology in regards to education?
My path to psychology was rooted in my childhood. I was the oldest boy. I am the oldest boy of my parents. And I never had an older brother to talk to growing up. A lot of girls in the home until my younger brothers were born. And so because I never had that big brother to, share my thoughts with, I decided I would become the big brother for all the African children in the world who needed somebody to talk to. So I was in the 3rd grade. We were living in Jacksonville, North Carolina, Camp Lejeune. My father was a drill instructor for the U.S. Marine Corps. That's when I made the decision quite young that I would be a psychologist. Stuck with it. And then when I got to graduate school, I learned of a school psychology program. I never really heard of school psychology. I didn't know what that was. I was always a clinician, so clinical psychology was my path. My doctorate is in clinical psychology. But I said, I'm going to go check this out. So I went back to the same institution where I earned my undergrad degrees, Millersville University, Lancaster County, PA. And I studied school psychology, where I learned that the school psychologist was the gatekeeper of special ed. We do the testing. We decide if you go to special ed. If you're in special ed, it's because you got tested by myself or a colleague. 9 times out of 10, that person doesn't look like you. And they're the ones who put our kids in special ed. Then I came back to Philadelphia to do my internship with the school district of Philadelphia. And then that's when I came face to face with one of the biggest protocols in place to marginalize and destroy the lives of black boys. And that was special ed. I'll never forget it. As an intern, I was constantly being asked to evaluate these children who had nothing wrong with them. So I'm testing kids and I'm like, there's nothing wrong with this kid. Another kid, there's nothing wrong with this kid. IQ score is fine. His achievement is low. He's behind grade level, but not because he can't learn, because he hasn't been taught. And then it turned into frustration.
Right.
Because every day was a fight. Literally every day was a fight. In Philadelphia, they had about 120 school psychologists for about 400 schools. So all of us had about 3 schools. You would go to this school Monday. Your bigger school would get 2 days. The other big school would get 2 days. And then you might get a magnet school, a special ed mid school, where all the kids are,
right.
130 IQs. They don't really need much there, but they still have to have a school psychologist assigned. And everywhere I went, I just had to fight. My job was like a professional boxer, because I had to defend children who had nothing wrong with them. And a lot of times I had to fight their parents as much as the teacher, because the parents also wanted them in special ed, because they simply just wanted the school to stop calling them up. So if they want to put my kid in special ed, call them emotionally disturbed, just so they can stop calling me, go ahead and do it. And I said, I cannot do that. So I'm fighting the parent, I'm fighting the principal. And then I resigned. 2005, I resigned from the school district, became a school administrator for a while, resigned from that, became a school administrator again, resigned from that, and just went into private practice as a school psychologist. So it was through all of this that my concept of building my own school was actually formed and fashioned and solidified, because even children who were not being put in special ed, they were not being properly educated. And I'm seeing this as a principal. Like, this ain't the way education's supposed to be. And I'm seeing it as a school psychologist. These children should not be coming to me getting evaluations for problems that are stemming from the fact they haven't been taught. And so it was by accident, to be honest. I came to be a school psychologist almost by accident. If Millersville University didn't have a program, and if Hahnemann University in Philadelphia wasn't too expensive to the point where I couldn't afford it, which sent me back to Millersville, we probably wouldn't be here right now. So I think to an extent, some of this was destiny.
Yeah. How do you see the influence of music of today's generation, how it's affecting them? Because to me, I love hip hop. I do love hip hop. But if it's not telling me something I can associate with or even reminisce or rap about with them, I don't understand the method of what they're doing. And my concern is because I have 3 children. And when I sit back and I listen to the kids, and I look at the kids vibing to the music, that's not saying nothing. I mean, even if the police was saying something because they were saying why they were saying that. But the music of today, I really don't know how the outcome is going to affect my children.
Well, music as a cultural expression has a bi-directional impact on people. We influence the music influences us. So when you hear artists say that their music does not contribute to the social ills we have, they're totally wrong. Especially from a psychological and a spiritual level, music and images are the language of the unconscious. You can program a mind better with sound than you ever could just with language itself. That's why it's so easy to learn music, because it's put to a rhythmic beat. That rhythm is mathematics, and the whole spinal cord operates based on the mathematics of rhythm. So
it's alchemy.
It's alchemy. It's no such thing as my music has no impact. That's total nonsense. It has a severe impact. Now, your music may not have caused the problems. There was black on black crime, there was poverty, there was gun violence before rap music. But rap music has certainly helped to glamorize it.
Right.
It took negative social ills in the community and made them popular. And nobody can absolve themselves from that. Not Jay-Z, not 50 Cent. Y'all helped to popularize killing, whether you want to admit it or not. You helped to popularize drug selling.
Right.
And the sad thing about it is many of you never done the things that you rap about in your music, but you're not being honest with the children, so they don't see it as entertainment. They see this as actual life, even though it was falsified. Here's the situation, and I think this is a problem with black folk in general, regardless of the art form we're talking about. We don't value our cultural products. And on top of not valuing our cultural products, that means we're willing to let anybody take them and exploit them and use them for whatever agenda that they have. And when we look at music, the creativity, the positivity that once served as the foundation for hip hop is no longer there.
Right.
It's no longer creative. Every song has the same message. I'm rich, you're not. Right. That's the whole hip hop industry just about. And if you make me mad, I'll kill you. That's basically the message. It may have a different beat, a different artist, a different set of words to explain it, but it's largely the same. And I think that hip hop began to take a negative turn for the worse when artists were willing to sign to the majors. For a while, you couldn't get a major. You could not sign to a major label. Run DMC broke through. They did it. Then LL and others came. But for a while, they ignored it until they saw the economic potential. And when we signed, we gave up our freedom to direct the art form. Right. It was more pure when the albums were sold out the back of the trunks. Right. I'm saying all this to say that although hip-hop was created by black people, it is ran by white people, and there's no separating from that. And I think the positive artists also play a role in this, because many of them are not courageous enough to constructively criticize the major artists who are the main purveyors of the verbal filth. So you'll hear Common or others who art form may be more positive, but then when people ask them about the Jeezys and the Lil Waynes, because they feel they have to be loyal.
He has to be political.
You see, I'm not going to say what is not hip hop, but y'all keep on saying gangster rap is not hip hop. but you will not identify who the gangster rappers are whose messages is not hip hop. So there's a contradiction, because on the one hand you're saying there's a distinction between hip hop and rap, but you will not dare identify the artists that are not representative of hip hop music. There's a fear of identifying who the quote unquote sellouts are in the music game because they hold the power. And it's popularly known, if you upset Jay-Z, he can get your album pushed back 50 years. You know, so they're afraid, just like we are in the regular community, to speak truth to power because of the consequences. You know, if I speak out against Kanye, you know, I may never be able to get a concert on this particular avenue. I might never get that Pepsi commercial. So even the popular or the positive rappers are afraid to check the negative rappers, because at the end of the day, they want some of the same shine that they got. You know? Well, and another thing too, when it comes to music, here's another thing. We have to be a little bit more responsible for what we let our children listen to. You know, because I talk to a lot of black fathers, you know, and they say, well, I don't hide music from my children. This is the way the world operates. But that music is also conditioning your son's mind. I mean, you're letting them hear, you know, bitch and whore, and you're saying you're doing it from an educational standpoint. Well, I don't know how much time you need to spend on bitch and whore. You know, and it just looks like it's an excuse, you know, to let your child get away with music that's conditioning his unconscious to disrespect folk. And I think the music now is one of the main socializing and education vehicles in our community. You know, parents always tell me, I didn't raise my daughter to talk like that. I didn't raise my son. No, but the music did. You know, the music has more influence over our children than the family does, the church, and the school. And I think there needs to be a Take Back the Music campaign where we redirect our children's energy away from the mainstream negative messages to something that's positive. If you ever want to know where people are politically in their social thinking, you look at the music they listen to. The popular music always tells you the level of consciousness of a people. In the 80s, we had the RBG movement, you know, positive consciousness. The music reflected that. NWA, kill them, the niggas and this, and the music reflected, you know, we were selling crack. That's when the crack hit. NWA pop around the same time. And look at us now. We're right back, you know, in a volley of the culture right now because the music is negative, and look where we at. Record numbers of black men being murdered by other black men. So the music reflects, but it also helps to encourage and redirect and reconstruct. And so we're both guilty. Jeezy and Jay-Z guilty for putting it out there. We guilty for listening to it and making it popular. Just like everybody's talking about Empire right now. Empire is horrendous. I mean, it's the worst example of a black family I've seen in my life. I haven't even seen families in therapy with as many problems as Lucius Lyons and Cookie and them got. You know, so it looks like they took the Cosby Show and just flipped it on his head. You know, and then people say, well, why would Terrence Howard and them participate in this? But wait, it would be nothing if you didn't watch it. So it's not Terrence Howard. It's you for loving it. You're talking about it because it is so negative.
Well, playing the devil's advocate in regards to that, can't we show all facets of who we are? Like we do have the ratchet side, we do have the educational side, we do have the artistic side. So do we all have to be prim and proper?
No, I think that's an excellent question. Here's the issue. First of all, when we talk about the we're not the ones putting out Empire and Scandal. True. But here's the issue. I agree with what you're saying. We should be able to show the full range of human character and conduct of ourselves, from the drug dealer to the brother with the Harvard degree. Here's the problem. American media is committed to only showing derogatory images of black folk because it feeds the social agenda of mass incarceration and extermination. So when you look at black males on TV, we're either what? Angry criminals who kill or laughing buffoons who make everybody laugh. Look at the black woman. She either an unattractive, over masculine controller of the home or the community institution, or she's this sexually fused, you see, or this thirsty, unwed woman who's looking for a man but don't know how to keep one happy. You see the images that they put out. So if they showed us in our full repertoire of personality and ability, I would have no problem with Scandal or Empire because you got other shows to balance it out. Yeah, there's a Scandal here, but we also got this one. Here's a brother, you know, making ends meet, raising 5 kids on his own, you know, with working you see. But there's no balancing act going on. All of the imagery on TV, from Scandal to Empire to Basketball Wives, and what really upsets me is even our black film producers. This is what bothers me. Y'all, instead of making corrective films showing black folk in our true repertoire, all y'all do is reinforce the mainstream images of black folk. Look at the Tyler Perry films. I mean, when Color Purple came out and Waiting to Exhale came out, we said those was bad. Right. He took that and put it on steroids with these Why Did I Get Married and Temptation. Yeah. I mean, every movie he has portrays black men and black women in a negative light. You see, and then on top of that, I even look at, the John Singleton films, some of the films he's making. I'm like, you could have done a better job. I mean, we have Boys in the Hood. Right. We didn't need Menace to Society. Right. We didn't need Dead Presidents. I mean, here's my thing. Why do I want to watch what I live? Some of this stuff, we see it in the neighborhood. Show me something else. Put me a new idea in my mind. That is when art becomes a creative force of social change and revolution. I know this is what you're seeing, but let me tweak it a little bit and let you know what you can actually do with this. Spike Lee, same thing. He made that movie Miracle on St. Anna's about the five brothers who was in the military. Yeah. And I'm watching this film, and the whole movie is about a group of young black brothers who fighting over this white female prostitute and how they need to save this little white boy angel or something. Right. I mean, Ghost, look at these films, man. I'm like, is this the best y'all can do? And so I just think that as a people, we're not being socially responsible at all. We're not. And everybody's trying to, pass the buck to somebody else. But here's the thing. If we don't change the music in the movies, the youth are done. Because by the time you get 12 years old, you've been thoroughly indoctrinated between gangster rap and the movies and what you see on the internet. By the time you're 15, you are done. Right. Your mind is already conditioned about what black people can and cannot be.
Pleasure to meet you, Dr. Umar Johnson.
Pleasure, bro.
My name is Curtis Sweet. I'm an artist. And before I get to my question, some of the points that you just brought up hit real close to home to me. Because as an artist, I sit back and watch other artists, and and that's not limited to, I'm a visual artist, I draw and paint, but artistry period, creators, how we are brushed to the side, we are tucked under by imitators. And what I mean imitators, you can't describe what you see in the neighborhood or in your day-to-day life, the attitudes, the behaviors, how you see women dress, and call that art. What did you create? You gave us a description of what you saw in your neighborhood, maybe what you endured over your life. But where's the creativity? Where is that? Most artists come from within. They go into that deep, passionate place where God dwells. Where are you bringing that from? And we have to learn the difference. And that's all I want to say about that. Now, my question is I currently, in addition to my artwork, I serve as a life coach for middle school age boys. Okay. And there are so many issues in those communities that honestly the parents don't even know about. Yeah. Schools don't hear about it. These kids don't talk to anybody about these things. And in my position, I've had the opportunity to actually be able to pull some things out of some kids, and the parents are worse than the system. The psychological damage that they bring to these children, whether they call them dumb or stupid, or maybe they cursing them and those types of things. How do you get the parents? My first question, how do you get the parents, or how do you approach the parents and make them see the detriment of their own actions to their children?
Here's the issue with that. First off, we got to look at the fact that the black community is a dysfunctional organism in and of itself. And I think that in order to solve and reverse a lot of the ills that we have to embrace it from a community perspective. And normally, whether it's education or mental health, everyone would go to the family and say, okay, well, the moms and the dads got to do this a little bit better. But a lot of them, as you said, don't know how to. And a lot of them are so socially, psychologically unhealthy. They need services themselves. So for me, I think we go about changing this whole thing by bringing in all the stakeholders of the community to do their part. Let me give you an example. Everybody will talk about the parents, right? But nobody holds the churches responsible. The churches have the teachers. They have the black professionals. They get the most money in the neighborhood outside of the foreign exploitative businesses, but nobody ever goes to the church. For example, I was in Chicago the other day, and someone said that the school needs to teach our children, I forget what it was, and it was a very black history. The schools need to teach our children black history. I said, I don't agree with that. I'm not interested in a white female teaching my daughter who Marcus Garvey was. Okay? Nobody gives their children's minds over to another people to interpret their racial history. Nobody does that.
Right.
It's true. Some things you do have to get from the government. But why would you want your oppressor telling your children who they are and where they come from? It makes no sense to me. I said, you got churches on every other corner. They need to be doing that. And a lot of the pain and the grief and the hurt and the trauma of the black community can be adequately addressed through the church. See, if we're waiting on the black parents to fix it, it's not going to get fixed, because many of them got put into that parent situation in a very dysfunctional way. They became parents as teenagers. They're addicted to cigarettes, alcohol. Those mothers are dealing with the trauma of rape and molestation. Those fathers are dealing with, being an ex-con and trying to find a decent job and not wanting to go back and get caught up in that whole cycle. So they need services too. And even though they love their kids and want to do a better job, when you have to work 3 jobs, or if you don't know if the kids are going to be homeless tomorrow, or you dealing with your own depression and alcohol addiction, it can be very, very difficult, to make the children the priority. That's one of the reasons why with my school, I want it to be residential. I don't want to send them back home, because a lot of them ain't got no homes to go to.
Right.
Or if they do, they're at home by themselves without the parents. But I really think until the church plays their role, until the black politician plays their role, until the black community-based organizations play their role, and until the black businesses play their, and the black professional associations, Association of Black Psychologists, Association of Black Doctors, Association of Black Social Workers, what the hell are y'all doing?
Right.
Because I'm saying you are the ones with the expertises.
Right.
Y'all have these professional cliques, and I'm not really seeing no meat on my table. We come together, we go to these fancy conferences and talk about all the degrees we got. And is this just, do we just do this to bask in each other's glory? Is this like a bourgeois thing to make ourselves feel better than everybody else? But I'm not seeing any practical utility in a black professional association. So for me, the parents are going to need the support of all the community stakeholder groups in order for them to really be in a position to help their children.
So the whole each one teach one thing basically just
Yes, sir.
fell to the wayside in some of those cases with the bourgeoisie.
Oh, without question. Oh, man, and the bourgeoisie, the gatekeepers, they the second worst enemy we got after white supremacy, because they are the protectors of white supremacy. They are invested to keep black folk where they are in exchange for a good job, a good house, some position. And that gatekeeper Negro, he's a dangerous creature. He's a very dangerous creature, because he will do anything and everything in the service of his own selfish agenda.
All right, brother, how you doing?
Peace, bro.
All right. My name is Zuberry Laughlin, and down here in Miami, we're real broken up, meaning like you got
Very fractured.
basically your Black Americans, you got your Haitians, your Jamaicans, and your others, your Browns. So basically, they don't gel at all, and I'm wondering how can we get that fracture fixed? How can we bring it in? How can you sit there and say, okay, my brother, what would be the proper route or the approach to bring people together on this, like basically to wake up? It's like,
well, number one, you got to find the people within these different ideological, religious, and cultural communities who care enough about the greater good of the entire race and not just their quote unquote tribe to want to do something about it. So I'm going to find the Rasta brother, who's willing to work with folk who not Rasta. I'm going to find the Haitian brother who embraces his Pan-Africanism above and beyond being Haitian, realizing that we all came from the same place, regardless of where we got set down at. You got to find the ones who are of a higher consciousness, are more interested in collaboration because they recognize that's the only way to get this done, and who also have some influence, enough leverage to go back to their particular group and say, listen, we got to do this. Put your personal stuff to the side. This is for the greater good of all of us. But it's also important to keep in mind that you're not going to take everybody with you. As I always say, not everybody cares. Not everybody's going to come along with the struggle. There's some people who are only interested in their particular tribe. That's just how they are. So you got to find the ones who you can work with, and then you have to leave the others. It's a difficult process, though, because as Marcus Garvey said, the greatest weapon used against the Negro is disorganization. We are disorganized, and then we help keep ourselves disorganized. And when we come together, what people need to understand, you don't come together based on religion, because you can't. There's too many of them. And you can't come together based on ideology. You can't, because there's too many of them. You come together based on purpose.
Right.
We're coming together to build a school for our children, period. And guess what? In that school, you can teach the Moorish thing. You can teach the Nawapian thing. You can teach the Pan-African thing. You can teach the Rasta thing. You can teach the Nation of Islam thing, because it's going to be for all of us. Purpose. We need a black supermarket in South Florida where everybody can come and get all their organic produce, and all y'all who grow can shop there. Purpose. We got to get away from the ideology and the religion. Respect them. They're important for you. But when we come together, it's about purpose, doing the things that we all need collectively, because it doesn't matter what the ideology is. We all need the same things, because none of the ideological camps have it all together. Not one of them. They are just as destitute and just as institutionless as the general black community is. So my thing is, we're all in the same boat in terms of lack of development and racial oppression. So come together under purpose. It could be under nothing else. The problem, though, you see, is too many in the conscious community still want to push their flag. You see, they don't want purpose. It ain't about how we can help the all. My ego says, all y'all got to come under my flag, or I'm not working with you. And that's counterproductive, counter-revolutionary. You know, it's degenerate behavior is what it is. But it's still there. You know, certain places I go, brothers say, listen, if he ain't this, if he ain't that, we don't want to build with him. So a lot of them, you just got to let them fall by the wayside. But a lot of folk, I believe, are waking up enough in each of these camps to the point where they're like, listen, if we don't start looking out for the whole, we all going to die. We got to stand together as a family, or we're going to perish separately as fools. That's where it's at right now.
Well, let me bring this to your attention in regards to basically the whole manipulation of the language through media. Right. One of the topics I wanted to bring up to you, a couple of topics I wanted to bring up to you, the LBGT activists attacked you, I would say, attempted to attack you. And what I felt that she was a part of, much like the gatekeeper Negro you were talking about, was you were so entrenched in the gibberish that was told to you, like, you know, being gay is the new black, or you know, all these other things, is that, you know, to bring my point home, how can we combat that? Because we are emotional people, especially when it gets to the point that you know that you're being tampered with through verbiage. What is the way that we can overcome that? Because I feel that is probably our biggest hurdle. The supremacists, I'm not even going to give them a color, the supremacists out there are laughing, because before we could even make a step forward, all he has to do is just throw some type of schism in front of us to throw us off. Now we're arguing, much like Cornel West and Dr. Eric Dyson, which I'd like your opinion on as well, where we're battling each other, but they're just sitting here like, okay, well, you know, while they're doing that, we'll keep on doing what we're doing.
Well, divide and conquer, separate and rule is the only thing that keeps white supremacy in charge of the world to begin with. As far as the schisms, they keep a fresh list of divide and conquer tactics that they can throw into the community at any time. If it ain't gender, it's homosexuality. If it's not that, it's classism. If it's not that, it's religion. Ghetto Negroes versus bourgeois Negroes. They keep a whole list of fresh issues to keep us from working together and coming together. Here's my issue. This is what I tell the feminists. This is what I tell the LBGTs. This is what I tell the religious cliques. We suffer what we suffer because we're African. And the primary ideal on the mind of your oppressor is your Africanity. That is the threat you pose to his existence. White supremacy only is here because the black man can exterminate the white man without a gun. His penis can turn the whole color of Europe brown in 50 years and black in 100. That's the essence of white supremacy. The whole system is set up, segregation, to keep the black penis from entering the white vagina. Now, the black penis shouldn't be entering the white vagina anyway, from my perspective. But that's the purpose of segregation. It is genetic. It is biogenetic. The power comes second. Survival comes first. Survival, power, and then control of the resources.
Why are your views as such, as far as not wanting the black penis to enter the white penis? I mean, the white penis. White
Number one, we already have an issue with a plethora of black women who are not getting married. Black women have the worst marriage rate in all the developed countries, whether you're looking at Europe, France, America, Canada. The black woman is the least likely to get married and the shortest to stay married. Okay, there's not enough black men to go around as it is because of the war on black men. It's sending them to jail, to the graveyard, and to the homosexuality movement. So if the black family is the basis of nationhood, there could be no nation without family. If the black family is the basis of nationhood, and we're serious about being nationalist, saving our people, that cannot be done without building families. When you look to build community, you build from inside. You don't go into somebody else's community and try to recruit them into yours. You build. We already have black women. What we need the white ones for. Also, it's important to keep in mind that white people don't share power with black people, not even in marriage. If a white woman is marrying a black man, it's not because of love. It doesn't mean she doesn't love him, but that's not the reason she got married. Everything white people do, because this is European culture, is based on functionality. If the white woman marries the black man, you're serving a function for her. And when you look at it, and I did a research paper on this, most black men who marry white women have something to offer her. Whether it's income, education, privilege, social status. Rarely does she offer him anything except the color of her skin. So you clearly see, whether it's Kobe, whether it's Tiger, whether it's Charles Barkley, Tay Diggs, Cuba Gooding Jr., James Earl Jones, they marry these women, giving them their wealth. Marriage is a business contract. If a black man is a multimillionaire and he marries a poor white trash white female, and I don't say that derogatorily speaking, but if he marries a white woman without anything, women live longer than men. When he transitions, because women live longer than men, black or white, that woman inherits all his wealth. So you're taking money from your people, giving it to a people who already got enough. To me, that's one of the greatest acts of betrayal. To leave this planet and give your hard-earned money, not to your community who needs it, but to give it to a white woman who's not going to use it for the benefit of your people. So if the reason I'm against it isn't based on emotionality, it's based on the social, political, economics of this whole situation. Why are you making white women richer? They don't need that. Why are you parading before our boys white females instead of black women? Where is the pride? Where is the love? Where is the self-respect? And what makes it even more interesting is up until 1967, you couldn't marry a white woman anyhow in most states. It was a law against it. You would be murdered for doing that. But from 67 to 2015, black men have married out their race more than the men of every other race put together. And then they claim, well, you can help who you fall in love with. That's a damn lie. I've been to school with white women my whole life. Undergrad, master's, doctorate. I work with them now. I ain't never fell in love with one because I don't date them. If you don't put yourself in that situation, you can't fall in love with somebody you're not around. You see, and the fact that black men marry more, we marry more out of our race more than all the other men put together. There's something else at operation here, and it is a self-hatred. It is a Willie Lynch chip there. The black man who marries the white woman in many cases and purposes, he does it because marrying her in his mind makes him feel equal to the white man. So it is the inferiority complex in him that drives the whole process in the first place.
Well, let me ask you this as well. In regards to the manipulation of the voice and the word, you're eloquent in your speech, very clear with your word. What and how do you combat those in the mainstream media that would label you as a militant?
Right. Well, number one, we got to recognize that whenever a black person speaks up for his people, derogatory words are going to be used to describe him, which is quite interesting because if you look at how aggressive and forthright the LGBT movement is, none of their spokespersons have been labeled militant. You look at the Mexican community and their activists, the Latino community. You look at the European Jews, even going back to the 20s. You know, they've never been labeled with these derogatory, militaristic terms of being militant and being radical. Only black people are castigated for being loyal to their blackness. But my whole issue to that is this. It would be a waste of time to be concerned with what my enemy thinks of me. He's supposed to oppose me. He's supposed to do all that he can to scare people who look like me away from organizing with me because he knows his strength can only remain in our division. So I don't pay a lot of attention to that. It comes with the territory. One of the things I've noticed is how so much attention is paid to my disagreement with the homosexual lifestyle, more so than to the work that I do every day around children and families. You would think that looking at what the media puts out about Dr. Umar Johnson, you would think that every lecture and all my life is about homosexuality.
It's the ism.
That is just that makes up less than 1% of my work. My work is about helping our people towards psychological health, working with our children, building schools, keeping them out of special education, building institutions. That's the bulk of my work. The homosexuality issue is only relevant because as a therapist, it comes up. As an educator, it's all in the schools. And because the DSM is the guiding manual of mental health, and homosexuality was once considered an illness until the year I was born, 1974, it becomes relevant to my work because mental health decides what's normal and what's not. So homosexuality falls under that umbrella, but they spend a whole time, on my opinion, on homosexuality. Atlanta Black Star, they did an article, a little clip, totally took my lecture out of context. They did a couple of them. They did one, Dr. Umar says black mothers are turning their sons gay. Totally took what I said out of context. What I said was that a boy can be psychologically castrated, which can trigger thoughts of insecurity and feelings of homosexuality. If you are stripped of your manhood, if you're made to feel inadequate by your father, your mother, your coach, you can begin to second guess whether or not you have what it takes to be a man. That can effeminize you, which can trigger homosexuality. Mothers can psychologically castrate, fathers can psychologically castrate. But they didn't put it in context. They took a little sensationalized piece and put it up there, and that's what they do. The fact that I'm trying to build a school, they don't do no articles on that. But let me say something about homosexuality. It'd be on every black website, every black newspaper, and that's the problem with the media, because the media is not about telling the truth. The media is only about getting as many viewers and listeners as possible. And what sells? Controversy, exactly. And homosexuality is a controversial topic. So whenever Umar says something about homosexuality, we're going to put it out there because that's going to get us more views, and we'll be able to charge the businesses more money per commercial.
I have one more question.
Good evening, Dr. Freeman.
Peace, Queen.
I want to know, has the NAACP been instrumental in your cause?
Hell no. White-funded black groups see me as the flu, and they run as far away from me as possible. Now, I do have a history with the NAACP. I was a member of the Philadelphia chapter, and I started the chapter at Millersville University, where I went to college. And from time to time, I will speak for them when they ask. It's normally local, once in a while. The Urban League invited me in 2012 to be a workshop leader at its national convention in New Orleans, which was very interesting, but they haven't invited me back since. So normally with those type of groups, they use me for my drawing power. It's like, okay, he can bring a big crowd. Right. So we got to find a way to get him in, but don't let him talk too much. But most of the black groups that's funded by white folk, they don't want to be nowhere around me. And when they are forced to deal with me, it's because our people come in and say, listen, how you going to deal with special ed and you ain't got him here? How you dealing with ADHD, you ain't got him here? How you dealing with sexual trauma, you ain't got him here? So a lot of times they're forced. They have to bring me in to be legitimate. That's what they do. We need Umar to legitimize us, and then they could go around and say, well, we had Umar. That's what they do. Same thing a lot of the black radio shows that do. We had Umar. That type of a thing.
Well, not all of them. I mean,
well, I'm talking about the major mainstream, major network type of shows. They like to do that to bring you in, for legitimacy. But those organizations are not going to be affiliated with me because they're multicultural. And that's the big problem with black America. We are being bullied into this multicultural identity. They do not want you to be unapologetically African. They do not want a black agenda. And one of the things that really hurt me, Reverend Sharpton, I was listening to his show about a year ago, and someone asked him about the black agenda, and he said, what do we need with a black agenda? And I said, you made your whole career, your whole reputation, your whole life on the black agenda, and now Obama throw you a couple pieces of dirty silver. You now want to abandon that. But we have to go back to having a black agenda. Everybody does. The Jews have a Jewish agenda. The Latinos got a Latino agenda, and they're telling us we got to be multicultural.
Well, I'll play the pessimist. There are so many examples of triumphs that the black community has had. Perfect example is Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma. When you have examples of this, the Black Panther Party, Malcolm, when he became enlightened, towards all of us, as a whole, you've seen how history finds its ways and its tactics to break us down. And I'm quite sure that you're building yourself up to deal with that. But I guess that's the true sign of a leader. But how, what is your mindset in dealing with that, knowing that that's the task that you'll have in front of you?
Good point. Let me add this piece to the multicultural piece, and I'm gonna say the reason they want black folk to adopt this multicultural identity because it's a very efficient way of getting the black agenda off the table as a point of discussion. If I can get you to blend in with the Arab, the East Indian, the Latino, the Mexican, and the LBGT, you become a conglomerate. That means the black problems no longer stand alone as black problems, which means the government no longer has to focus on them. They don't even have to be discussed. We don't even have to keep statistics on how many police kill blacks because we don't even see black as a standout group. They're part of the multicultural piece. So we got to be on guard against that because taking us off the table as a point of discussion is the prelude to taking us off the face of the earth. You see, that's why they pushing this thing. And what the white man does is he loves to redirect minority issues back to his own people so they benefit from their own problems. They did this with the white woman when they added the white female into the civil rights bill. That allowed the white man to make the woman's issue more important than the race issue. And then when they started coming up with affirmative action and minority contracts, they just gave the money to the white woman and she would bring your money back home to her husband. Now they're doing the same thing with the LBGT. Most homosexuals are white people. So by making an LBGT issue bigger than the black issue, all you're doing is focusing all the energy back on white folk. That's exactly what they want us to do. And we're falling for this. Well, we got to fight for the Mexicans. Mexicans can't stand you no more than white folk. None of these groups like black folk, and every group who comes here come here with the expressed intent of proving to America that I can be loyal by treating black folk just as bad, if not worse than what you do. In Los Angeles, Mexicans are over there killing black folk like it ain't no tomorrow, and many of them not even being arrested or going to jail for that. So this whole multicultural, who cares about you? All these groups benefited from slavery. They all benefited from oppression, and not a single one of them did anything to change it. They're not coming to America to share with the black man. They're coming to America to replace the black man. Now, dealing with the war that's going to come towards me, which in many ways has already started, I ain't got an issue with it. That's part of the process. There's no such thing as being an advocate for your people and not being in a position of some sort of a harm, whether it's reputation, whether it's physical, whether it's loss of job, whether it's going to jail, whether it's character assassination in public, that's going to come. Here's the thing. We all got to die. So ain't even no need to be worrying about that. You don't choose when you die. Look at Harriet Tubman. This woman probably had the most dangerous job of any black person of all time and lived to be 100 years old. Wow. And then you got another brother. He might be a stone cold sellout, gatekeeping house Negro. He walk across the street, get hit by the Mack truck. So you can't advance your life no longer than what it's already designed to do, and you cannot shorten it. We come here with that destiny already laid out, so you can't worry about that. All you can do is control the time between your birth date and your death date, and that's all you have. The challenge, though, is making sure we have replacements to take our place when we fall. That's the problem. We do not have an intergenerational transfer of leadership protocol that takes the power from you and give it to me when you well beyond your years to have it. Our biggest problem in the black community, we got people who are great-grandfathers running organizations. That should not be. Why? Because they're no longer intelligent enough? No. But when you get past the age of 60, you grow conservative. You know why? Because you're tired. Right. You want to enjoy some of your golden years. You want to walk on the beach with your wife. You want to sit down and read books to your grandchildren. And guess what? I think you should have that time. But because you're growing more conservative, you ain't ready to go to jail. You don't want to go to jail at 65. You don't want to get shot. You don't want to get beat by the police. You don't want to be out on the streets organizing. So you realize that you lose some of the fire you had as a youth. So you need to pass the baton. But the problem with the black man is his ego. We have been so castrated by the white man that whenever we taste a little bit of power, whether it's the church, whether it's the revolutionary black group, whenever the black man gets a little bit of power, it goes to his head. He becomes a dictator, an egotistical tyrant, and he rules the organization just like a monarch, okay, where you got to agree with everything he say or you get kicked out or assassinated. You see, and you can't change the leadership until that person dies.
Well, that brings up what I was speaking of in regards to the rift that Dr. Eric Dyson and Cornel West is having, where it's kind of a similar situation where, as is being described, Cornel West, as great as of accomplishments that he's provided as far as intellect is concerned for the black people, he's gotten to a point where it's a form of bitterment, and just as you described it, where the elder statesmen wants his due. He wants to be glorified, but the shine is going to Umar, or it's going to Dr. Dyson, or everyone else. Like, what are your views on that?
Well, first of all, let's be clear. Dyson, Cornell, Tavis, Gates, none of them are relevant to black folk. And to be honest with you, I can respect Cornell a little bit more than Dyson, because at least he remained adamant in his position. Dyson switched camps opportunistically because he's working on a book about Obama. He was just as critical as President Obama as Cornell was. But because there's an opportunity for the gatekeeper, he's now switching his position, and now he wants to defend the very same president that he previously attacked. So for me, I got a little bit more respect for Cornell than I do Dyson. But they're both bourgeoisies. Neither one of them do anything grassroots-wise in the community. So for me, you know, I hear Dyson talking, but I don't see Dyson doing anything that affects the general quality of life of black folk in this country. And it's true for all of those black scholars. And that's a big issue that I have, you know, with them. They may write excellent books. They may give excellent analysis on CNN and CNBC and all of that. But at the end of the day, what are you doing to improve life for black people? If all you have is an opinion, if all you are is an intellect with an idea about something, you're useless, because ideas are not going to change black folk. Work is what's going to change the black community.
And I found a video that you had in regards to the black church being so profound, because it was pointing the finger, not to just, you know, elicit emotion out of the people. It was just more or less saying just what you said. Put us in a position, each one teach one.
Right.
Put us in a position where, okay, I'm not just going to tell you that we need upliftment. Here's how we're going to do it. All right, you're going to work doing this, or what's your skill? Let's teach you how to do that stuff. You know, all these programs, because as some of the panelists have asked you, let's come up with an actual strategy, as opposed to, you know,
Popping your chops.
You know, popping your chops, where at the end of the day, it creates apathy amongst the ones that do have the spark, that do want to do something. You know what I mean? And that's something that we definitely.
Well, here's the thing. After we criticize the personalities and institutions that are not being progressive in the community, it's important that we inspire the people who are serious towards work. So, for example, I'm extremely honest, I would say, in my analyses of the systems in the black community that are causing and maintaining the dysfunction that's there. But at the same time, I know we can solve and overcome that. You can't lose the hope. I know we can solve our problems. See, here's my thing. Solving the problems in the black community is not the problem. It's easy to build a supermarket. It's easy to build a school. You can go to the United States Small Business Administration and they have libraries with nothing but business plans in them. So if black folks said, okay, we're going to open up a factory, but I don't know how to do this. We're going to open up a distribution network. I don't know how to do this. We're going to open up a central black farm. I don't know how to do this. A central black grocery market. I don't know how to do this. Everybody else has done it enough times. Well, all you got to do is take their blueprint. So building institutions, which is the only solution for black folk, because white supremacy affects us through their control of the institution. Black people get poor health care. Why? Because you don't have your own hospital. Black people eat poorly. Why? Because they ain't got their own supermarket. Black kids are being miseducated. Why are you dependent on the public schools that the government put out? So you help us to the extent that you create independent institutions to provide for the needs of black people. That's how you solve, okay, the situations that we have. However, though, you got a lot of black folk who don't want to do that work. For example, in the conscious community to me is also a mega church. The conscious community is just like the black church, a bunch of mouth-japping, talking Negroes who ain't building nothing. Same thing. We'll go and talk about the church and the preacher collecting all that money and not doing nothing with it. The conscious community do the same thing. You go around giving speeches, getting paid. You writing your book. You're doing the same thing T.D. Jakes doing. The only difference between T.D. Jakes is you giving him true information and he's giving him lies. But neither one of you are building anything. And if we think that our people are going to be somehow improved because we're giving them information, That ain't going to improve them. You had Africans in slavery who had just as much knowledge of Nile Valley civilization as we got now. They were not ignorant. You had African people who were very well educated. Education is not what eliminates slavery. Power and independence is what eliminates slavery. So when do we start building the programs, the systems, the processes, and the institutions that are going to make us an independent people? Work, not religion. Work. We need work, and that's the only way we're going to come out of this.
Well, earlier you said we need to go to church to teach our history. I think that would be great because I personally feel that the church of today ain't doing shit else.
It's not.
They ain't doing nothing. They're not giving me no. They're not giving me no history, and they're not doing nothing else. Militant became a bad word. You know, I feel I am militant. I feel I need to be militant. I feel Malcolm X was the choice. I can't speak bad on Martin, but I'm gonna go with Malcolm. If I lived in that time, I see myself on that side of the spectrum. What do we have to do? How do we get rid of this? Because they're taking more from our community than they're giving.
Church is a parasite.
They are the absolute parasite. They take advantage of our women. Because they're the body of the body.
And what it is, they are actually exploiting the hopelessness of black people. You see, that's why when you look at who goes to church, it's normally the very poor or the well-to-do. The well-to-do go to church to sanitize their selfishness. I don't do shit for black folks, but I do come to church and put $100 in there. They're free of guilt. The very poor go because they suffer from learned helplessness. I cannot change my situation. It's going to take something out of me to change it. God, I need Jesus and God to change my situation. You see? And so the pastor's job is to be the conduit between you and Jesus and God. And he sells hope. He sells hope. And I don't like the selling of hope because our people don't need hope. They need work. They need faith in themselves and work. Nobody coming to save black folk. They would have been here already. Not Jesus, not Muhammad. Nobody is coming because everything we need to solve our problems we already got. We just don't have the commitment. You see, and here's the thing about the church, though. It goes back to, like I said, with Terrence Howard and Empire. Don't blame Terrence. Look at the millions. Blame the millions of black folk who watch. I'm going to say the same thing with the church. You can't blame the pastor. He got 5,000 black folk coming there every Sunday, 500 black folk. You have to blame the people who continue to go.
How do we give them that knowledge? I understand you say you don't care if they're...
Well, see, here's the thing. I'm going to tell you right now what's going to kill the church. Once we start helping black men get on their feet, the church is going to dwindle because the church ain't nothing but single black women looking for husbands anyway. The pastor is the symbolic husband. You see, black men don't go to church. Real men don't go to church because this is nothing but a family. One husband and 100 wives. You follow?
Right.
And the more black men get on their feet, the more we going to get married. The more women we going to take care of, and they won't need church. They might still be Christian. They may still go. Mom might go on Sunday, but she damn sure ain't going to be there 4 days a week. You see, so the pastor is actually afraid of the empowerment of black males because he knows this church only exists because these women ain't got no money.
But most of us are aware of your works through the Hidden Colors series. What are some of the things that you've recognized? I mean, because I'm not going to say that was solely where you got your claim to fame, so to speak.
No, I was known before. I made Hidden Colors. Hidden Colors ain't make me.
Tell it.
I was saving children for years.
Yeah.
So,
but as far as some of the knowledge that you've dropped on there, like what are some of the effects you saw that?
Well, I think Hidden Colors was very, very powerful because I think it gave black people a very accurate, historical, but inspirational message in a very straightforward way with strategic use of images and sound. As I said earlier, images and sound could rule the unconscious, and the way you impact people is by using music and movies to get at them. And I think with the way that was laid out, with the images that was used, the sound, the whole strategy of the Hidden Colors with the information, I think it served up a very powerful dynamite presentation, you know, that really helped a lot of black folk get an introduction to who we really are. The information wasn't new in Hidden Colors. Most of us already knew it, but the way in which it was presented, it was very digestible. It wasn't, you know, all intellectual and over your head. And it was so simplistic in its power that whether you're in third grade or whether you're an elder, you could find meaning.
So
in
how
it.
do
Like you
we
said,
move into that to say that I don't have my PhD, but I still can reach out, and the administrators need to hear me?
Well, here's the thing. That's only going to be done with the independent institution. Because if you're dealing with an institution that's funded by the system, those institutions are ran by the degree. You know, we live in a credential-ruled society. You know, if you ain't got this cert, if you ain't got this license, if you ain't got this PhD, if you ain't got this master's, then what you got to say don't matter. And it's a shame. Because we got a lot of brilliant brothers and sisters who got a lot to offer, but they trying to break into or work in government-funded agencies. Once you step away from that and you independent, you can run that thing how you want to run it. You know, so at my school, potentially, I can have people there who ain't got no paperwork.
Right.
As long as, you know, because it's independent.
Right.
You know, but once you start taking that money, you no longer have that. You know, it's the same thing that happened with independent schools. You know, people start opening up the charter schools.
Right.
And, you know, a lot of independent schools start losing their students, but then the charter schools suffer the backlash because now a lot of the black charter schools are being shut down. You know, they're being accused of financial mismanagement, which ain't correct. They're being accused of not raising test scores, which ain't correct. And they're being accused of not having enough certified teachers, you know, which ain't correct. So, you know, even the black charter schools are like white charter schools because ain't no brothers in them teaching because they ain't got the paperwork, because you taking this free money to run the charter school, and the state say if he ain't certified. He can't work there.
Right.
Whereas if you independent, you can have all the brothers you want working there who
to
not
take
certified.
this chance before I let Curtis ask a question. I'm gonna let you speak to one of the millennials. I'm one myself. We're around the same age group, but the millennials are really that bridge, in my opinion, to talk to the youth that you're talking about that we're trying to reach eventually, because we still have those old school values that we were raised on. I mean, some of them need some changing and altering, but that's where we have some of that new school mentality as well, and blending the two. Now, I'm going to let this brother speak to your young entrepreneur as well, and let him speak some of the things and ills that they go through.
Sure.
Evening, Dr. Umar.
Good evening.
First and foremost, I want to say this to me feels like the thing I always wanted to do. I wish I can go back and talk to Malcolm one day. I wish I can go back and see what Nat Turner really looked like, because I can't find him on the internet.
Wow.
So just you and my presence is a blessing in itself. So I want to say
Appreciate
that.
that,
I
bro.
appreciate you. But me, as my father Malcolm Sr. said, you know, he runs a T-shirt business. I had the pleasure of being able to work in there, and hopefully can go ahead and take that and run with it. I feel like in the black community, we all should play a role. That's the only way it's going to work. Teamwork. Everyone plays a role, and we fulfill it. Me, I don't want to say when I was younger, because I'm still a young man, 24 years old. But before I knew what I know now, I guess you would say, I was kind of the cool fella. Learning some things, I kind of understood that the issue to some extent could be that black is not as cool to us as it could be, because the media is what's cool. The songs, like you said, Jeezy and Lil Wayne, is what's cool. That's why the young generation is doing what they're doing. I created a clothing line that's called Jet Black. Since everybody wants to be fly, that's what the jet is for, and black is what I care about. So that's where we're at with it right now. Is it as far as that take on it, is that a okay
Definitely
point or what's the word? Just what's the word I'm looking for? Is that a
good angle to
is that a
come
good?
back?
That's the word.
Yes,
angle.
sir.
Is that
I
a
like
decent
it.
angle?
I like it. Yes, very much so.
Because I'm trying to go ahead and impact even the kids who are a little bit younger than me, even a couple dudes who are a few years older than me.
Yeah. I like it.
But it's just not necessarily the clothing line itself. What I'm saying is making black cool.
We have to.
Is what is my angle
Marcus
on
Garvey said it. We got to sell the Negro to himself.
Right.
Yeah, you got to make it popular again for people to be proud to be African.
Right.
Yes, sir.
So as far as making it cool, what are a couple ways that you feel that we can go ahead and push that? Seeing as how media is doing what it's doing on a day-to-day basis.
You got to include popular art in it. You know, so you're gonna have to find youth who do everything that the non-progressives do, but in a progressive way. Graffiti, but positive. Rap, but positive. Spoken word, but positive. You know what I mean? Because the art forms is how you relate to the generation. So you got to stay within them. But the content has to be different. You see?
Right.
So you're going to have to build yourself a team of youth who come through the same medium of the art, the same type of art, the same swag, but with a totally different content. That's how you're going to get them. You got to meet them where they are and then pull them up slowly. I also think you're probably going to have to start a website, a magazine, or a newspaper as well, because you're going to have to capture the opinions of the generation. You see, you're going to want those youth to write for you. And then the ones on your team, you're going to want them to put their opinions out. You want to create a vehicle of exchange. You know, so whether that's a website, whether you do your own social network for conscious youth, that would be powerful. But when you look at all of our great leaders, male and female, they all did three things. They studied, so you probably need to do a study group. They struggled, organization, that's your Jet Black movement. And then they disseminated information, that's your newsletter or your magazine. You got to make sure you hit those three, and you'll be all right. Study, struggle, and disseminate the information. And the study is important, because if you start a study groups ain't just about getting information. Right. It forges a collective consciousness. Those same 20 coming every week, they might be all over the place when they first meet, arguing over everything y'all read and talk about. But after a year, you're going to see it's more like family now. We know each other now. We bonding now. We might still not agree on everything, but we forge a collective consciousness. And you can't get work done with a group without a collective consciousness, because they don't trust each other. So I think a study group would be powerful to go along with what you're doing.
And another question, and I know you, I hate to bring up the homosexuality again.
I don't mind.
But it comes up a lot more often everywhere else. But to me, back to the system, I feel like I mentioned to my father the other night, I feel like homosexuality is like the next chamber that they just released. Like it's so rapid right now that and it's deteriorating the black man so fast that it's so aggravating to anyone who can see it. Even to someone like a little boy who idolizes basketball. Now guess who's the face of progressive with a wig on? LeBron James. And you don't have to follow him on Instagram. That's a sponsor. That comes up for free.
Yeah, you're talking about the progressive commercial.
Right.
Yeah.
He's wearing a wig and doing
Just
this
like
power
Floyd.
thing. It's so tough to me and aggravating to watch someone who doesn't know, who's my age, older or younger, see something and even laugh at it sometimes. That's not funny to me.
It's not.
It's not funny to me. But as far as this homosexuality and the way it's being pressed on us, how do you identify with masculinity as far as what's not what's okay, but more so what shouldn't be okay, I guess you can say.
Right. Here's my thing with that. Somebody asked me, they said, what are you going to do when gay kids come to your school? Because you're probably going to get some gay boys. Are they going to be allowed? I said, sure. They said, why? I said, because there are no gay black kids. You only got confused black kids. I said, once we finish teaching the boys the divinity of the masculine energy, the greatness of being a black man, I won't even have to touch the homosexuality topic. I'm going to just give them themselves, reinforce the nature of who they are. They're going to love being a black man so much and embrace that masculine power so much that a homosexuality will never even be able to make an inroad with them. Same thing with the little lesbian girls. Once they understand what being a black woman is all about, the true role of that feminine energy in the universe and how it has brought forth, and how the first symbol used for the creator was a female, and so forth and so on, and embrace that womb and their responsibility of repopulating the planet, they're going to love being a black woman so much, I'll never have to talk to them about sleeping with another woman. Our kids are just confused. All we have to do is take them back to the basics about who they are. Problem is the gay movement is very, very proud. The heterosexual movement is not.
Gay is cool now.
Exactly. So what black men have to do, we got to have conversations with our boys. about, you know, how proud we are to be African men and what that means to us despite all the challenges and situations that we face. So our boys have derived some pride from that. And women going to have to start doing the same thing with the little girls. I'm glad to be a black woman. I love my husband. I love my kids. We're going to have to sell the black family and both genders back to our children and who we are traditionally speaking. Otherwise, the LBGTs are going to win because they are proud with this. And our children are not seeing proud black folks speak up about the black family and traditional types of gender roles and responsibilities. You know, we got to make it popular to want to be a black man and popular to want to be a black woman, because what they coming with now is heavy. It's heavy. You know, the black colleges, you know, I speak at all the black colleges mostly. And when I go on them campuses, man, sometimes you see the brothers cross-dressed, skirt, high heels at a black college, man. And I'm saying to myself, if the ancestors who built this college could look at this now, they'd be turning over their grave. They didn't buy this so you could be free to sleep with other men. We was never into that. That's not who we are as a people. And the thing about it, what black people need to understand, this whole thing is about population control. Homosexuality is birth control. Two men can't have a child. Neither can two women. This is about extermination. And we don't even see it. We think we all caught up in civil rights and family rights and people should be able to live their life. The government is pushing this because they know it is a very, very powerful tool. That's why they over in Africa, pushing it in Africa, threatening African countries that if you don't legalize homosexuality, we're going to cut off your federal aid. Why is that so important? Because if I can convince Africans not to repopulate, to just cohabitate with people of the same gender, I start cutting the birth rate down. Those numbers start dwindling. This is an extermination campaign. The police brutality, the abortion, the incarceration, the black on black crime, and the homosexuality are all part of the same extermination package. They go hand in hand. And black people versus everybody. And that's what I'm going to talk about. How we don't have no friends. All we got is each other. We got issues with every community in this country, including the country, and how our backs are up against the wall, but how we can win. We can still win this situation.
Right.
Intellectual insurrection, trying to motivate our people to see things a little bit different.
This is the Spot Discussions, and we definitely appreciate your presence here, Dr. Umar, and we look forward to the show in a couple weeks.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, this has been the Spot, y'all, right here on SoFloRadio.com, y'all.
Of ingredients to relieve pain, to relax tension, soothe irritability.
This is the Spot.
It's a fucking movie, man.